Hello, my name's Dominic Brown and you're listening to or watching this special bonus episode of the Outside and Active podcast with our guest, Suzi Shaw. This is a first for the podcast. We are helping announce a really, really big and important challenge and project. And to do it on a bonus episode, well, more content is better. So looking forward to getting into this conversation and this announcement with Suzi Shaw. But before that, if you want to leave a rating, then please do. And also forward this on to someone who you think would enjoy it just as much as you. We want to grow this outside and active community. Suzi has been a singer, an actress, a TV personality, but now she's turning her hand to a brand new project. And without further ado, let's head straight into this bonus episode of the Outside and Active podcast. Thank you for joining us on the Outside and Active podcast. This is really exciting because I've never been part of an announcement.
Though I'm so excited about it.
Excited, nervous?
I'm excited and nervous because if I've announced it, it means I have to do it. And before this point, there's been a moment I've been able to get away with maybe not doing this ridiculous challenge.
No, but once you've said it now, it's going to be held to it. And it's when people are listening to this, it will be Thursday the 6th of April, and the challenge starts
on the 25th of May.
Okay, so we're going to chat all about it and all about you as well. But the first thing I'm going to ask you before we talk about that is a question that we ask to everyone who comes onto the podcast, and it's, what do you love about being outside and active?
Everything that it does for your well-being. I think the power of being outdoors is really underestimated as we live in this kind of world of TV and games and social media, technology, and as technology is growing, we're becoming less and less reliant on the outdoors, and we need it for our well-being. So for me, it's my dose of daily tonic, just getting outdoors. Sometimes I will even hug a tree.
I like that. Sometimes I'll hug a tree. And I like the way that you started that with, just thinking of all the reasons, the amount of people that I ask, because we ask that to everyone, that go, do that same thing, that intake of thinking about all of the reasons why they love the outdoors. Yeah,
I think as well, if you think about it, you know how like Coca-Cola, they sell you a feeling.
Yes.
Like if you had the outdoors as a product, you would be minted, because there is nothing like the outdoors that sells you that feeling of, it's just so nice.
And I'm inspired now. I want to go and hug a tree, so I'll do that later. Right, so let's talk about the big reason that you're here and the challenge that you're undertaking. So I'll pass it over to you to talk about the challenge that you're doing.
Okay, so I'm currently working on a project that is kind of on a mission to it's on a mission to kind of find the complexities within mental health. I'm a wellbeing advocate and a mental health advocate, and it's a really important topic for me. So within this project, we do really kind of deep dive into mental health and what is it we can do to help ourselves along the way to make sure that we are keeping our mind healthy. But within this project, I am running a crazy running challenge. Of course I am. Basically, running's my therapy. That's what I get out of it. I'm a sober, plant-based runner, and I do things to help my mental health because for 19 years I battled with it. So for me, running's my therapy, and within this project we discuss the power of running and the power of the outdoors, but this running challenge is insane. So to reflect on 1 in 4 crisis that we are in with people suffering in some way every year with their mental health, we are running over 4 days. I am running over 4 days.
There's a sense of realisation.
Yeah, there's a sense of realisation. I am running over 4 days. But every day, I won't know what I'm running. So at the moment, I'm currently training for the unknown. There's 2 distances I will have to run each day, and I roll a dice, and that distance will be determined on the day. Will it be 30 miles I run that day, or will it be 50 miles I run that day? So potentially I could run up to 200 miles over 4 days.
Wow.
Or I could run a mere 130 miles.
Just that small
Just
amount.
a small amount. So it's the the biggest challenge I have and probably will ever take on in my life. But it is, again, it's a metaphor to mental health. When you are in the depths of struggling with your mental health, you don't know what day you're going to have. And so it is a metaphor to that. I don't know what day I'm going to have on this running challenge.
Like you said, you're training for the unknown. And it's that idea of waking up each morning, obviously not knowing how far you're going to run, but the analogy of waking up in the morning and is this going to be a good day? Am I going to be able to get through today? Or am I going to wake up and feel like this today is not for me? Yeah,
exactly. And I mean, running 30 miles or 50 miles, I'm not sure is either a good day, to be quite honest. But again, when you're in the depths of it and being there for such a long time, it was, am I just going to survive this day, or is it going to be a really, really bad day? And that's why I wanted to kind of put a spotlight on this conversation by running these big distances. So, yeah, I am training for the unknown. I'm currently obviously training that I'll be running 50 miles every day, the max. So at the moment when I'm hitting my long run on a weekend, I'm thinking, why didn't I just stick to just 30 miles every day? Because I don't want to be running 32 miles today. But yeah, because you don't run the entire distance that you'll be running on the actual event. You just kind of run a certain amount of it before you hit the day.
But it's also the idea of back-to-back days. You have to run potentially 50 miles and then have to try and recover, sleep, and wake up the next morning to potentially do that again. So what's really making you nervous about that?
That reality of back-to-back day run-ins. I've done a few shadow runs now, where the other day I ran a marathon and then my shadow run was a 10-miler and I couldn't do it.
Really?
And that really through the reality of this challenge, and I am worried, and I'm going through a little bit. It's that moment where I'm a bit, it's not just the before the run, it's the before the run section that I'm in at the moment, where everything hurts. I'm really nervous whether I can actually do this. I'm really doubting my ability. Some run days are great and I feel fantastic, and like I said, this week when I ran the marathon and then tried to do the 10-mile run the day after, it hit me so hard that, I have got to do this for 4 days. And this was a struggle, and this was a fraction of the mileage that I was trying to achieve. So, yeah, I think it's the back-to-back days.
Because it's taking on the physical challenge, but also, I mean, you're already having that mental battle now about, gosh, I've got to really do this over 4 days. And there will be times in those 4 days where you will not want to do it. So you'll have to, from within, have that motivation, and of course you're doing it for something that you're really, really passionate about and that's close to your life. So I guess that will be an element of motivation.
That is the driver, definitely. And I think having a charity to raise money for as well will be a really great motivator. I think my worry is I'll know what it feels like to run just over 30 miles. My biggest mileage that I will run during my training is 32 miles. But if I ended up for some reason getting back-to-back 250s, and I've never felt what it feels like to run a 50 mile, and then the day after, or even just a day after a 30 mile, because I wouldn't have not felt what it feels like to run 50 and then follow it with a 50 or a 30 the day after. Oh my God.
Oh my God. Now. It's recorded.
Oh my God. This has all just become real, really real.
For the benefit of the people not watching and are listening, Suzi has literally just put her head into her hands as she's realised the amazing challenge that you've taken on. But this isn't, and you said it'll be one of the, if not the biggest thing that you'll ever do. But you've done a challenge before, the Run for Hope, Hold On Pain Ends, which was 60 miles over 19 hours. It was 19 hours of running, of movement. I mean, how will you draw experiences from that? Because you will say yourself that was not plain sailing at all with injury and battles.
No, it was not. It was really difficult running 60 miles. So obviously I do know how that feels, but I didn't have to get up and run the day after.
Yeah.
It was just one day, get it done. So
that was a nervy laugh. But,
that was a nervy one.
How did you feel the day after that? Because then imagine having to...
Like I couldn't run for months, and that I was just going to be your kind of 5 to 10k girl. See, the problem with that run is that there was a massive realisation 24 hours that I'd ran it, that I was 2 miles off completing a 100 km.
Yeah.
And that really frustrated me. If I'd had completed 100 km, I don't think I'd be sat here going, what's my next challenge? And it's got to be bigger.
But that happens with, and you've been in the running community now for the last few years, and you've seen other runners and other challenges as well, and you know, and you have that feeling you've just said about, I've done a challenge, and then you probably finish it and go, oh, I'm never going to run again. And then after a little while, it manifests to go, well, either I didn't quite achieve, like you said, the 100K there, or, oh, what if I do something bigger? And you're doing it for a great cause as well, and raising money for charity, but you're in that mentality now. You're in that ultra running world.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a funny one, isn't it? Because it just really gives you, the power of running is fantastic, but I don't know what it is about this like urge to go the distance and where that comes from. Honestly, if I could figure that out, I'd, be able to become a therapist, I'm sure. But it's this urge that ultra running just gives you this great sense of resilience and achievement and confidence and it's coming out of your comfort zone. And I think this is the lesson that I've massively learned through battling with my mental health, to then coming out the other side by fixing the things and changing the things that I was doing in my life, but almost kind of putting myself back into that suffering. So what I've realised is that as humans, we have to allow the suffering to happen. And so if you don't have the suffering, you can't grow from there. And I think that's why I like to go back into like a place of pain to grow from it and build the resilience and get my confidence and to kind of take me to that next level. And so, on this project that I'm working on, it's been a real eye-opener that actually suffering is a part of the human experience. It's learning how to sit in that discomfort and be okay with it.
And the charity that you're raising money for, have we said that yet?
No, yeah, it's Mind. I'm raising the money for Mind. They do some amazing work. Yeah. So, it's great to be supporting them. And, so I would really appreciate a donation. It is in the link in my bio on my Instagram account.
And the project, as you've been talking about, has you resonate with the topic of mental health so strongly. It's been something that you've openly battled with over a 19-year period, and it's probably something that is still times where there are battles. But let's take a step back before where running came into your life to almost 19 years old. You're thrown into a media spotlight with hearsay. How was that time of your life?
Gosh, it doesn't feel like it was a part of my lifetime. It was crazy. It was overnight fame. I'd been working in the entertainment industry all my life. I'd been on TV at 12 years old in a drama. I'd been in Western musicals. I'd been working since I was 9 years old. So I knew very much what that life was about. But I don't think you can ever teach what fame does. And it's brutal. The British press, particularly the time that I was in the spotlight, was hard. It was, the scrutiny, discovering of like your personal life and disclosure and everything that came with that time was pretty shocking, and I was living a dream and living a nightmare at the same time. One hand I was doing a job that I dreamed of since I was 3 years old, to be performing in front of people. My job was singing, dancing and acting, but then 50% of it, in fact probably 80% of the job, was dodging bullets and kind of navigating my way through fame. And that was difficult. And I think the reason I didn't speak up about my mental health for so long was because I felt like I shouldn't have struggled, because I had it all on paper. I had success, I had the dream gig, I was making money. But yeah, I was secretly battling, like really paranoid and didn't know who to trust. It was a tough gig, and being in that from 19 years old and growing up in the media, I hadn't discovered who I was, and I was told, you're going to have to be the girl next door. That's your role. That's the part you play. Come out of your box and we're going to put you right back in it. And then everybody keeps you in that box, and it's tough. It's tough to kind of then understand who am I. And it's only in recent years that I've come away and discovered that.
It's really interesting that you say that, because I imagine it's really almost claustrophobic. You feel like you don't have a second to breathe, that there are all, the media's always there whenever you go outside, whenever you're on television, or just, there's always someone watching you having an opinion about you. And it seems like where we're at now in 2023, there's a bit more of an understanding around the challenges that people go through when they're thrown into a spotlight. But like you said then, especially at that time, the British media, there was such an intense pressurized area, and people maybe just thought, oh, you're in the spotlight, you're doing exactly what you want to be doing, there can't be anything wrong with that. Whereas actually, there's an immense amount of pressure.
There is. It comes, your life becomes a lot more complicated. On that journey from being, such a young kid to getting into hearsay, I was enjoying the jobs, exploring who I was, being able to walk outdoors and be me. And then suddenly you're in the spotlight. And just like you said, everything comes with judgment, criticism, people telling you who you are and what you should be doing and why did you do that. And your life doesn't become your own anymore. You are public property, and people will say what they want to say to you. They'll say things like, oh, you look much fatter on the telly. I'm quite surprised. Oh, aren't you short in real life? And, these things are fine. But, there's like the constant, oh, isn't Kim and Miley doing so much better than you? What? It's just like that constant of somebody having an opinion on your life. Oh, why did you date that person? Oh, you didn't. I remember very, very famous person's mum. I won't tell you who the famous person is, but very famous person's mum saying to me, God, you looked awful in the papers this week. Why did you even leave the house? And I was like, so you know what this is like for your child. How
can you say that to someone else?
And I just thought, this is it's hard. It's hard having that opinion, but at the same time, I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities that I had. So yeah, it's difficult.
Mixed.
Yeah, it's
like
a,
you said,
it's a
that
real mix.
obviously slightly more. You said 50-50, but slightly more weighted towards the negative areas in that part of your life, but you see the positive opportunity because you also were acting and did theatre work as well. I know that theatre was a great time for you.
Oh, I love theatre. It's one of my first passions. There's nothing better than live entertainment. It's my favourite thing. I loved it being in Emmerdale, but it's recorded and I would definitely describe it as the closest thing to an office job in acting world, because you file up your scenes, you go onto the set, you do your scenes, you come off, you go home, file up your scenes, and it's just that kind of repetitiveness. But with theatre, you just don't know what's going to happen, what kind of audience you're going to have, what kind of performance it's going to be. Being truly in that moment is just it really lifts my spirits, and so I really enjoy live theatre.
And obviously now, I think around since 2020, that fitness lifestyle, that healthy, nutrition-based, plant-based, obviously you said I want to come on to that, but with the difficulties of going through that time and media pressure, does that present itself in lots of different ways, like having battles with alcohol and just maybe not being as active in life that we know now that would really help, even just getting out for a walk or a run or whatever? Was there a real battle in there?
Yeah, I think it comes with a mixture of a few things. I was looking for my happiness externally, and a lot of the time, if it wasn't through my work, then I had to find it through other things, and that would entail like alcohol and just an unsustainable way of living, cars, holidays, relationships, and I'm just constantly scrabbling around because for so long performing was my identity, and when I didn't have it, when I was in between jobs, I didn't know what my identity was. I felt like a failure. I would often drink. I would go on holidays. I would get bored and buy cars, and then I would just kind of and for a long time, I was in and out of relationships, and just because I wasn't doing the work, I wasn't working on myself, because I was scrambling around just trying to find who is it, who am I for so long, didn't know who I was.
And it's a vicious cycle of short-term happiness as well, and like you said, the holidays and the alcohol.
Quick fixes, and then one day it just got enough, and I just thought, you know what, I know I need to improve my mental health, and I know what I'm doing. I know my unhealthy relationship towards alcohol isn't helping it. I know if I went and worked out more, working out as well became a hard thing for me to do in a very strange way, because I'm very active with my job, so I've always been fairly fit. You'd think that going to the gym wouldn't be a problem, but it was because I was worried about not turning up and being perfect or looking right, or I'd lose weight before I go to the gym because of this whole how I should be in the spotlight. And so, my way of thinking towards activities which you'd think, we'll just go and do that, was just quite distorted.
So that kind of brings me on to my next question, which is, was there a sort of cathartic moment where, was it a hard stop, or was it a gradual period of thinking, right, now I need to have some changes in my life because I need to change something for my mental well-being?
Yeah, I think it just got to the point where I had enough. Enough was enough with this kind of cloud I was walking under, this self-sabotaging behaviour, this woe me, and I just knew that if I changed my relationship towards life, in my lifestyle, then I would give myself a chance. I used to visualise this person who'd be outdoors running, being active. I used to think, I could eat nutritious foods and feel like this ray of light and bounce within my life. And it was just like, how do I do that? And it was by just purely everyday prioritising my well-being.
I think that's the phrase that you use, my relationship with, because it's all well and good saying, well, I'm going to start running now, or I'm going to start eating healthy now, I'm going to be plant-based, I'm going to not drink alcohol. But actually, if you're not having the mental sort of positive relationship with those things, nothing's actually going to change. It's still going to be a short-term fix.
Definitely. I mean, and I think I'd got to the point where I'd trialed these things quite a few times, and I'd last, and willpower would get me so far. But I think in the end, I realised that actually it's not willpower I needed. It was a shift in my mindset. And although I quit alcohol, I went plant-based and took up running, and that might seem quite a big extreme thing to do all at once.
Was it all at a similar
Pretty
sort of time?
much, yeah. It wasn't actually that hard, because it wasn't that I was doing all of those things. I was simply going, I've got to every day my priority is to prioritise my well-being. And that seemed the obvious thing for me to do, was make sure that I was having more whole foods in my diet, that I was not drinking alcohol, and that I was getting outdoors. And that just seemed like the obvious thing. And so therefore I ended up going plant-based, quitting alcohol and taking up running.
And a noticeable difference in life.
Difference, yeah, massive difference. Even within the first month will always be the hardest. The first week is the hardest, and it's tough. And I was exchanging alcohol for a lot of sugar, but it was an exchange. I had to do that, and there was a process. At one point I was quite junk vegan, and then I realised actually this is not helping me. So there was still a journey. I wasn't getting it right, and I think it was about dropping perfection and just going for it. And, the not drinking was just giving me so much energy. Adding more whole foods to my diet was making my skin and my hair and everything, giving, again, energy and making me feel good. And then just getting outdoors, and whatever pace I was running at, or, where I was running, it was just the tonic that I needed to make myself feel good. And doing that consistently over the years has just taken me through this journey of self-worth, making myself feel like I can handle, tricky situations. I'm much more resilient. I'm nicer to be around. I'm a way better mum, partner, friend, and I found my purpose again, because I lost that for so long.
And I imagine the support network around you was there, because support network for your project is going to be extremely important as well, with the people that are going to be around you to take you through that. So the idea of support networks is massive. Oh,
definitely. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned, for so long I was this person who was very well known in the UK, and you'd think I would be surrounded with lots of friends and have this huge connection with so many people, but I was really lonely and I would isolate myself. And through this transition, I've realised the importance, and I call it my 3 C's, the importance of that connection and community is finding your tribe. And it might not always be in the way that you think it should be through friends and family. You might have to find it through running groups, or, go into like, for me, like I've got plant-based community that I turn to, and a sober community too. But finding, the people who are going to lift you and inspire you and motivate you and help you stay on, this journey of self-improvement. And then my other C is consistency. Is just having that consistency with doing this every week, prioritising my well-being every day, whether, and it doesn't always look like that I'm going out running, though it might seem it on Instagram. I'm not out running every day. Yeah, especially at the moment, but like meditation, like, just nourishing myself with good food and being surrounded by people who are supportive. And then the final C is compassion. I had to start loving myself. And actually that was the first thing I did. It wasn't go sober, go plant-based, or take it running. I had to be able to look at myself in the mirror and say, I like you. And that was the first thing that I did on this change, was go, enough is enough. Stop hating yourself, because you can't get away from yourself. You've got to start loving you to love life. And so compassion was a really big thing for me on this journey. And then therefore that has just translated in my compassion for people and for everyone around me, and the things that I want to do with my life.
How big a part of this is mindfulness and the idea of being, I mean, it's kind of all of the things that you've spoken about, but mindfulness is almost a buzzword.
It is, yeah.
What is it for you?
Mindfulness for me is just that being self-aware, is just going on that journey of self-discovery. And I think, when you're being mindful, you are becoming aware of your thinking, of your environment, and of, your place on the planet. So, I definitely say mindfulness is becoming more aware of who you are.
And we're transitioning back into, this part of your life, the running. So when you first started running, was it quite difficult? And was there a time where, again, your relationship with running changed to be, I'm just enjoying it? Like, is it ever a challenge? Like, you're competitive with yourself, or is it always every run I go on is bettering myself or making me just have this time of day where I can enjoy being active?
It's a mixture, really. When I'm training for a challenge, sometimes I'm like, the last thing I want to do is run.
I think every runner will
relate
appreciate
to that.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so at the moment, it's, I'm not actually going out to run for me. I'm going to run out to make sure I'm ready for this challenge. And that I'm finding it quite difficult at the moment to enjoy running. But most of the time, I'm out to just explore what's out there, hitting the trails. One of the best runs that I've ever done was a part of a race, and it was in Croatia. And I got lost up in the mountains of Croatia, and found two other of the racers on the trails, like kind of hobbling, because they'd been doing the race for a good few days prior to when I joined. And it took us 8 hours to kind of get off these mountains to the end of the race line. But just being in the mountains and taking in the beauty and like sharing stories, life stories, I will never forget how powerful that day was in part of my running journey so far. And so you just don't know. It's sometimes like the unknowns, or just even being out and about on your own kind of trails and roads in your own area, where you discover things you never thought was there, or people or other runners. Like the other day, I was running around down a really busy road, and it was a shadow run, so it was a really hard run, and my legs were killing me. And there was a guy who was kind of just behind me. And he kind of came back and he said, "Oh, excuse me, I'm running through. I didn't want to frighten you as I ran past. If you've got your headphones and somebody just suddenly runs past, it's like shock." And this guy started to run with me for a while, and we're both training for different things. He was training for the, it wasn't the Amsterdam Marathon. It's Rhodes Marathon, maybe. I can't quite remember, but he was training for a marathon, and then he was asking me what I'm training for, and we started to discuss, and we spent 10 minutes of the run together on this major busy road in High Wycombe, which it's a road I don't enjoy running down. I prefer to hit the trails. But it was a really enjoyable moment because a complete stranger who had a love for running, we just shared a couple of running stories, and then off he went and I went off in another direction. And, you know, I'll probably never meet that man again in my life, but it was a really special moment.
The running community is incredible.
It's incredible.
And I imagine the support that you're getting and will be getting as well from members within the community is incredible. Even events and running events and marathons and 10Ks and park runs, if you've been to one, people will know. But especially for a challenge that you're doing, people will band together and support.
Oh, they will. And it's a magical place, the running community, you know, and even if it's just for that, you know, if I don't ever do challenges from here, just to be a part of the running community is really inspirational. I love it. Actually, you know, I just don't think there's any better community. It's just full of people from different walks of life who just have this love for running, and that's why I love it so much. And just joining the different races and going to the National Running Show, and, you know, just even on social media as well. It's a very, very wonderful, supportive place with lots of colourful people.
I like that description. Just before I ask you a few more questions about the challenge and what you're scared about, what you're looking forward to, and a few other bits and pieces, just want to ask you about the Happy Health Club, because that's something that you're doing at the moment. That's another project that's all part of this lifestyle. So tell me about that. Yeah,
so the Happy Health Club is an online wellness community, and it is based around the 3 pillars of my changes, which is the sobriety, plant-based nutrition and exercise. And it's an app where people can come, and you don't have to be sober or plant-based to join it. It's for anybody to just come and just explore and see what they like within the app. It's an application. We have fitness classes live and on demand. We do like a run day warm-up motivational chat every Monday morning to start your week off. We have loads of different plant-based recipes, and again, it's not about saying, you know, you've got to be plant-based or vegan to be a part of this community. We have it on there because I know what it was like transitioning to a plant-based diet. But more importantly, it's just great nutritious recipes that help you get more whole foods into your diet to give you that great gut health, and it's just really great health benefits to it. So there's loads of like recipes. We do cook-alongs live again and on demand, and then we have our sober section, again, to help people with mindful drinking, or, you know, want to take a break from alcohol or just change their relationship towards alcohol. So it's not, again, about coming in and being sober. And we run sober sessions. We have videos on sobriety, and we have loads of information there. And then every month we have an expert come in talking about a completely different subject. So we have astrologers come in. We have childhood therapy trauma people come in. We have women's health people come in. We have mindset coaches. We've got a range of wellness activities that an expert will come in and talk about. So, it's just to explore well-being, really.
Yeah, and because you document a lot of your journey on social media as well, obviously there will be lots of people that will be inspired by that. So that's a medium in which you can support a lot of people that either are going through positive changes like you went through, or just to give them some support.
Exactly.
And it's a medium for that. I mean, I mentioned social media, that's a big part of your life now still, but how's your relationship with that changed from it being something that, I guess, out of your control to now in your control? Yeah,
well, I think before I did this big lifestyle change just over 3 years ago, I nearly came off social media, and I thought, you know, there's just no point. I just don't enjoy it. I don't like what it's about. All I'm doing is sharing, you know, I'm waiting for a nice holiday to go on to share my fancy pictures of me pretending that my life is so goddamn wonderful, because that's what I thought you should do on social media, or waiting for that showbiz event or showbiz party or the job to show off about. And I was like, this is just stupid. Like, why are we doing this? Why are we just on there showing off? And then obviously I was looking at other accounts that talk more about specific subjects, and I was very close to just completely coming off. And then I thought, well, actually, I'm doing this big change. I'll go through a few months of seeing how I feel about it. And then if I was to continue to use social media, I'll share my journey. And it started, my very first post was to be honest about my mental health, and that and be completely transparent.
That must have been tough.
And that, I didn't know how that was going to land. And when I say it took me hours to post it, I was filming I started filming probably around about 2:00 in the afternoon, and it was like, I think it was again around May time, because it was for World Mental Health Day, and I'd started filming, and I kept stopping the record. So no, I can't be saying that. I'll start again. By the time I did my final take, the sun had set, and I was basically in darkness.
The moon was out.
Yeah, the moon was out. It was the day after, and so it took me that long, and I was so worried about what people was going to say, and I got so much support, and then loads of people asking like, how's it been being 3 months sober, how are you feeling like since running, and so I just started to share everything on there, and then that turned into this thing that I called the Shaw Happy Plan during lockdown, and yeah, we were doing like workouts with PTs, we were doing cook along with plant-based nutritionists, and then I was doing sober chats as well, just talking about my journey, and that's where the Happy Health Club completely evolved from there. It was all by accident.
But that's often the way that the best things happen. But where did the idea for the 1 in 4 run come from in this project? Like, was there a moment, or was it just a gradual thing of, I know I want to support this topic of mental well-being or this charity, and this is how this support is resonating? Well,
so the original idea, so 1 in 4 people, so I knew it'd be running over 4 days. And so the idea was to run different distances every day. So I had this initial idea. There's 1 in 4 people, and these are the Mind stats of the charity that I'm raising money for. 1 in 4 people will suffer with their mental health in some way every year. So I thought, well, let's run over 4 days. And as a metaphor to mental health, we'll run like a different distance every day. Now, it was never meant to be 30 or 50 miles. You can imagine where that came from. There's a man called Mike Seaman. Because originally my idea was to have on different side of dice, there'd be 10 miles, and there'd be the marathon distance. Yeah, a marathon mileage. Distance. Yeah. And then the max distance would be 50 miles. So at no point would there be like, 30 or 50 miles. I could get an easy day and just have to run 10 miles. So what happened was Mike said, well, actually, that's really not that big a challenge if you think about it. I was like, no, I think it is.
Nice.
No, I think it is. He said, really, if you're going to do it, and because you've run an ultra, why don't you challenge yourself and do an ultra every day? And silly old me went, all right then, Mike, I'll do that.
First piece of advice, never go to him for ideas, especially on running. Exactly. He will amplify everything by 10 times.
I know.
Which is exciting, but also nervous.
I know, but why don't I learn my lesson? And I keep coming back for more. He's like that annoying big brother.
Yes, that's a great way of describing him.
The annoying big brother. No, I've always described him as like the big brother of the running community, because he's he's so supportive, and I wouldn't be able to do this challenge without you guys, without the National Running Show. So, thank you, firstly. But yeah, it's just amazing that, I've got that support to be able to raise awareness and to do these crazy challenges.
What is making you most nervous about day one?
So the biggest challenge within this time has been getting my nutrition right. Fueling's really difficult. I have suffered many a times with runner's stomach. I think most endurance runners do. Runner's stomach is awful. When you get runner's stomach, that's like game over. And I got that in the 60-mile run. So it's been on my mind that this will not happen during this time, because if I get it on day one, I'm going to have it day 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So day one, if I get runner's stomach, I'm just know it's going to be a really difficult ride. I have, however, in recent weeks, found a magic potion. So, so
share.
How I will share is, basically, it's nothing that exciting, but what it has done has been an absolute game changer on my long runs. I've realised that I don't get any problems, and it's simply drinking maple syrup.
Please elaborate.
But you've got to get the quantity right.
Yeah.
So basically, you have maple syrup mixed with water. And you sip on that throughout an hour, but you can't exceed 60 grams of maple syrup, or I can't with the speed that I'm going, and my body mass. So so I have 60 grams of maple syrup in a water bottle, and I have that throughout the hour. And I'm just like, I've not got any stomach problems. My energy and my glucose levels are up, my carbohydrates are up, and I am feeling good. Now, my worry is for day 2, 3, and 4 is, will I be maple syruped out? So I am testing a few different things at the moment.
After 4 days, you'll never want to have any form of maple syrup again.
I will be ringing Canada, going, shut down your maple syrup factories, stop making it. I know that is my worry. So I'm trying not to overdo it in training, so I'm not sick of it by the time I get to training. But it has been a game changer. When I say game changer, it has been a game changer.
And it's finding something that works for you. For some people, gels work. More savoury based foods. Yeah. But if maple syrup is working for you, then absolutely do use it.
Exactly. I think it's oats before I run. If I eat any solid foods before I run, guaranteed I'm going to get runner's stomach. So I can't have solids. So it's just kind of...
that reminds me, we were supporting Brian Wood on a challenge that he did when he's been on this podcast before, and he started off by loving pork pies. They were really getting him through, and by the end, he quite literally never wanted to see a pork pie again. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with you, and there's a positive experience with maple syrup. But if it's...
I have a feeling there won't be, and I won't have maple syrup again. But if it's going to get me through my runs, then that's good. I think my tactic is to fuel before I start running and to fuel after, and then to power through with maple syrup and hydration.
Do you have any recovery tactics and plans that you're going to have?
Well, so now I'm going on this experience of ice bathing.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I find it as amazing as recovery. So I probably will have an ice bath as soon as I finish. Just stretch, just making sure that I am keeping myself warmed up and that I cool down. Because the thing that happens, and I know you runners will understand this, sometimes you're like, oh God, is it that time? Right, quickly, go and run. And you forget to do the warm-up. And then you finish your run and then you're, right, I need to get in my car and go home. And it is injury. That is literally, if you want to get injuries, do that. Don't warm up and cool down. So I'm just very, very mindful that is like part of the whole experience is before you go running, you warm up properly. And like I'm learning things like even get the gun out before I run on my legs. I never thought you should do that, but in recent weeks I've been told it does, and I did it the other week. And when I said I had an easy marathon, I actually felt quite good just running the entire marathon because I had maple syrup, my rollers before that I went out, and I felt thoroughly warmed up and then had a really good warm down as well. So
all of these things make such a big difference, especially when you're taking on a mammoth challenge.
It is. It's so important. And for me, I don't want long-term injuries or, I want to keep injury free, touch wood. So I am doing all I can to...
I mean, you threw in ice bath there as if it was a walk in the park. I tried an ice bath for the first time 2 weeks ago at one of our shows, and I definitely thought that I was going to not get out of that ice bath. It was horrible. But I did come out and did think that I would do it again, but it's lots of benefits with that.
I've got to be honest, I hate ice baths. It's not a hack I'm into. Wim Hof, love his work, but you know what? I could not do what he does.
Great for you.
I'm really happy for you, but it's not for me. But I'm sure running isn't for other people. It's just not a hack that I can do daily, but I'll do it as part of my recovery for this. Idea. But yeah, I don't know, these people who are just like, yes, let's, just roll in ice and just you see so many people cutting ice out of on top of a lake or a water and then just plunging in and coming out again. Mm-hmm. I went swimming in the Irish Sea in February with the Happy Pair. Now, the Happy Pair are these crazy plant-based twins who have this community and they go into the sea every morning and then go and eat porridge. And nice. And I thought I was going to die. I literally, I couldn't warm up for hours. I was really poorly for days later. I don't know what I did wrong, but it was, I think it was hypothermia setting in and it just was not for me. But I went running into the sea, my heart rate was massively up and I jumped into this ice cold sea and it was that's the worst thing you do. You could die doing that. You've got to get your heart rate down, you've got to breathe properly. So
because we are not meant to do it. In the same way that humans are not built to be running 50 miles a day for 4 days in a row, but we're going to put ourselves through it, but that's the exciting bit.
Hilarious.
Penultimate question.
Yeah.
What, if anything, are you looking forward to during this project? Are you looking forward to potentially taking yourself to a place that you've never been before in running, whether the mental challenges, but also the support around you? What are you looking forward to?
Oh, that's a really good question. I am, and I'm not looking forward to where this is going to take me mentally. I'm expecting it's going to go to some crazy places. I'm just going to have to, this is what I'm practicing at the moment, is just kind of leaning into the discomfort, just preparing myself for that mentally. So I am quite intrigued. I don't know whether I'm looking forward to it. I'm intrigued to see where it takes me.
Good phrasing, yeah.
And hopefully there'll be a lot of kind of insights and growth from that. I'm looking forward to the connection. I'm not looking forward to Mike Seaman's banter.
I can attest to that as well. Suzi, this project, this challenge is immense, and the reasoning behind it and the money that you'll be raising for an incredible charity is equally as important. And we're really excited to be supporting you, and really happy that we're looking forward to the announcement. You can really start ramping everything up. Yeah. Where can people go to find out more about the challenge, to follow your journey, and obviously to donate towards Mind? Thank you.
So I'm Suzi, SUZI_Shaw, SHAW, on Instagram, and I've got my link tree on there, which is in my bio. So the bio's under the picture on my profile page. And if you click into that, you'll see my running challenge in there. And so, just click on that. And any amount is really welcome, honestly, I just really appreciate it. And I know Mind will too.
Good luck for the rest of training. Thank you for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to it.
Yes, cheers.